Welcome to Duh Bitch, You're Powerful, the podcast for big-hearted women who are done playing small, ready to be the healthiest, sexiest, most magnetic and powerful version of themselves, and apologetic about wanting it all, especially love. I'm your host, Shilpa Cacho, and if no one's told you today, duh bitch, you're powerful. Let's go. Queen, welcome back. Today's guest is someone who took her own fertility struggle and said, nope, we're fixing this for all women. Courtney Saye is the founder of Functional Fertility Clinic, and she's on a mission to help women and couples actually understand what's going on in their bodies instead of just being told to keep trying or just do IVF. She brings functional medicine, clinical nutrition, and real compassionate coaching to the fertility journey because you deserve answers, not just crossed fingers. She has helped so many women, so many couples have what they've been dreaming of, which are healthy babies. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome back, Queen. Have beautiful Courtney here. I'm so excited to have our conversation today because it's such an important conversation to have. So many women, including myself, Courtney and I actually had talked about this a little bit when I met her in Detroit, where getting pregnant is not as easy as it was for me the first time. And I know I'm not the only one having worries, concerns about fertility or health in general, women's health in general. And I wanted to make sure that I bring you on because you are just so freaking wise. I love seeing your wins from your clients, to have people just who have been worried or struggling with fertility to now have babies held in their arms. Like, what a gift it is to have someone like you who does the work that you do. And I want to start off by you sharing a little bit about your journey and what called you to this work.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. So we started the clinic 3 years ago, and my career path before then was very different from this work. I had spent a couple decades working in finance and operations at tech companies, and along the way, I had fertility struggles too. I had a miscarriage in the second trimester and then went on to go through secondary infertility. So first time, no problem. A loss after no problem getting pregnant, and then it took forever with no answers or support. And so, fast forward through my career in finance and operations and venture-backed tech companies, which was its own adventure, I had health symptoms. You mentioned like women's health in general. I had symptoms that were just getting worse and worse, that everybody said like, oh, everything looks fine, gut issues, skin issues, headaches. And I found functional medicine and felt 70% better within less than a year. And so I basically decided to blow up my whole life, give up my executive job, and bring this to the world, because I always thought of myself as someone who was pretty up on health and fitness and what to eat and all of those things. And I'm like, I've been suffering and I didn't know this stuff. So that means that the majority of people definitely don't know this stuff. And it's changed my life. And so I went through a big certification as a functional nutrition practitioner. And when I was deciding, I was working with a lot of women on different hormonal issues at first. I just felt really called. It felt spiritual to help women who are on a fertility journey, because I kept going, what was the hardest thing that I've ever been through? This could make a difference there. And the fertility stuff that we went through was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And I knew that I could make a difference, because I knew, looking at my own information that I had gotten from this and things that had changed, I'm like, this was there when I was struggling. And if I had known this and had support back then, my story might have looked different. And so anyway, long story short, we started the clinic 3 years ago. And I brought on a team of experts who all have been doing this work for over a decade in clinical nutrition, dietetics, and functional medicine. And we put together our method where we work with women and couples to help them get to the root cause of what's going on in their body so they can bring home their babies.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What are you seeing right now? What are people thinking the issue is, and what is it that you're seeing that, like, no, this is actually the problem?
So I think that most people are the most common thing I'm hearing right now from women is, I'm panicking because I was told I have low AMH. If you've been to a fertility clinic, that's one of the tests that they'll do, and it's ovarian reserve. And so many women are being told they have low AMH. That's a big one. Some women know they have low progesterone, and some women are just like, my body feels off. And the general consensus is women blame themselves for this whole thing and don't ever think about the male partner or what's going on with him. As far as what's actually going on beneath the surface, beyond like it's unexplained infertility, it's low progesterone, it's PCOS, I need to lose some weight, there are deeper issues. And I would say there's three big things that we really see. Metabolic health is a big one. That doesn't get flagged very often in standard workups. Mitochondrial health. So your ovaries are one of the most mitochondria rich parts of your body. Your heart is too. And if you've got suboptimal mitochondrial health, which happens when you've got low AMH or diminished ovarian reserve, or over the age of 35, that happens a lot. That can cause issues for getting and staying pregnant. And I would say the third one is probably micronutrient deficiencies. So a lot of people are eating pretty healthy diets, but they're not necessarily absorbing the nutrients and getting them to where they need to be in their cells.
Wow. Wow. All the things that you don't hear about. I hear more things about like PCOS or, like you said, weight, rather than everything that you just mentioned. I want to take it back to something you just said. You said oftentimes women blame themselves, but they're not looking at men's health. Are you also working with men and kind of checking them out? What is it that you're seeing with men?
Yeah, so we work with women on their own, but always encourage the couple to come in together. Sometimes the woman wants to do it on her own. So a lot of people will say fertility is 50-50, but really it's like 70-30 or 80-20 based on what's actually going on in their bodies. And a lot of like the common thing I hear up front is he had a semen analysis and it looks fine, so I know it's not him. And they often have no answers, but they have a whole list of reasons why they're the problem. Like, I need to lose weight. I have stomach issues. My periods are really painful. And the guy's like, oh, I'm good. And then we run their labs and he's got more going on than she does in almost 90% of the cases. And so
really? Wow.
Yeah. And what is that? Why is that? People ask me, why is that? I think it's because women are so focused on trying to optimize their bodies that they've made a little bit of progress. Not that they don't have things going on that are an issue for sure, but they've been working on it a little bit. They've been trying to clean up their diet, cut out alcohol, whatever that looks like. And he maybe hasn't. And so we tend to see more going on with the male partner in the cases we've worked on. And a lot of the things are the same. I would say the metabolic health issue is a big one. Low testosterone is the thing that, if men know they have an issue, that's the one thing they point to. But again, the low progesterone, estrogen, testosterone for the men, all of that is a symptom of a deeper problem. So if a guy's got low testosterone and you've got low progesterone, that's not the actual problem. There's something else going on in your body that is stifling the production of those sex hormones.
Wow. So I think what we're seeing is there's been surface level fixes for everything. Wow. So now that, okay, let's say someone does labs with you. I'm guessing that's where probably people start, right? They come to you, they're doing labs, and then you figure out, okay, here are the underlying issues. How are you walking them through this journey? How do you know how to tackle or obviously I know you know why you know how to tackle it, but like, where do you start?
Yeah, so everybody's a little bit different, and we've got a couple options. We've got a group program that's mainly for IVF prep that runs at a fast pace and in a group, and then our signature program, people work with us for a few months one-on-one. Let's talk about the one-on-one because that's the most intensive. You're going to run a bunch of labs. You're going to work with your practitioner to run through protocols that are specifically designed for what's going on in your body. It goes in a specific order, but everybody's body is a little bit different. And so the plan is not going to look the same for two people. But you are going to be working on what we call your fertility furnace, your metabolic health. You're going to be working on eliminating any toxins from the body that are colonizing in the body and causing issues. Sometimes that leads to autoimmune challenges. And people are like, I cut out gluten, I cut out, dairy, I'm taking a thyroid med, my antibodies are still high. Well, a lot of times that's toxins. Inflammation and inflammatory reset, and then what we call the cellular rewind, that's really focused on cellular health and energy. And so they're going to go through a very specific order of protocols. Everything's non-drug. We do work with about half of our clients are getting ready for IVF. They know they want to go that path for whatever reason. There's a variety of reasons. The rest want to get pregnant naturally. Some people don't know, but so it's non-drug over here, but if people are working through IVF protocols, that's fine. We're working on targeted nutrition, supplementation, and then any lifestyle changes that need to be made to really address these root cause issues that we find on the labs.
Amazing. So I'm curious if you recommend going this route first before even thinking about something like IVF. Genuine, like your honest opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I have really strong opinions about this. I don't think that you have to say, I'm not going to do IVF, but it doesn't make any sense to me to go into IVF when you've been trying to conceive and maybe you've tried IUI, you've been trying naturally, maybe you tried IUI and it didn't work. That's not working. And you don't have any real answers, or maybe you have a couple of answers, but the only answer is do IVF. And then you're going to go into IVF, and a lot of times the same things that were causing trouble getting pregnant in other ways are going to cause IVF failures. And so getting to the root cause of what's going on in your body, even through like our group program, is faster paced, not as personalized, a lot more affordable. Like even doing that work for 12 weeks as you're going into your IVF cycle can make a huge difference in outcomes. So I don't understand why people hop over there without at least optimizing their body first. I'm not saying don't do IVF because this path is the path and you should try to conceive naturally for, for like 3 to 8 more months. People are tired by the time they get to us a lot. There's nothing wrong with IVF and it works beautifully a lot of the time, but to go over here without optimizing your body first, it's expensive. Even if you have insurance coverage, it's a lot on your body. It's exhausting. It's a whole thing. That's where my beef is.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and I would probably feel the same way too. I actually told myself I'm not going to do IVF no matter what, because I already have a child. I have a daughter. So I said, if that's all God wants me to have, but I would come to you to go do the other work and try naturally.
Which is about half of our clients. And we had a client a couple of months ago who'd been trying for 3 years. They had IVF scheduled. She got pregnant naturally while she was working with us before she even got to the IVF. So look, I think there's a lot of cases where people think IVF is their only option, or they've been through it 3 times and they, in their mind, they're so far from trying naturally that they can't shift that paradigm. And so that's fine. But if you ask me what my personal opinion is, if they could get pregnant naturally, a lot of them can get pregnant naturally, but it's A, where your head is on things, and B, patience, right? Because if you're going to try naturally, you're going to work with us for a while and then you're going to start trying, and it might not happen in the first couple of months. And a lot of people are just burnt out and they're like, I want to go into a cycle at X date. And that's fine, but walking into it without preparing your body makes my head hurt.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on freezing your eggs?
Yeah, so we have clients who come to us to get ready for freezing their eggs too, because, if you're gonna freeze your eggs, you want to have the best quality of eggs possible going into the freezer for later. I think it's a great idea. I think a lot of people, ideally you would do it in your 20s. If you're in really good health in your 20s, nobody's thinking about it then. No one has the money for it then. Everyone's building their careers. But I think if you're getting into your mid to late 30s and you're not, ready for kids, that's a good time to think about doing it. And it's the same advice as IVF prep, because it is. Egg freezing and IVF are the same thing. You're just not fertilizing those eggs and then doing a transfer. And so you're doing the whole first part of IVF when you freeze your eggs, and optimizing your body before you go do that is going to give you a lot better chance of a successful outcome.
Okay, that makes sense. And when you're talking about metabolic health, what are some things that maybe women can start doing for themselves when we're thinking about that?
Yeah. Like sobering statistic on that, only 7% of US adults are in optimal metabolic health right now.
Wow.
So it's almost everyone. Like it's when we go over this stuff with people and they're like, oh, I feel I should have. And it's like, don't beat yourself up if you're not in optimal metabolic health, because it's almost everyone. I think the first thing I tell people is to know your numbers. We're obviously really data driven. We like to see what's going on in the body. Most people have had some blood work done at some point recently, and a lot of it's too basic for what we need, but you can go see what your fasting glucose number is at a minimum. We also like to see fasting insulin and hemoglobin A1C, but most people have fasting glucose. And if it's not in the 70s or 80s, that's a clue that you're probably struggling with
Mm,
metabolic health. So that's an easy one to check out. But the other two are important for us to see and really get the full picture. And if you're not in optimal metabolic health, it's all about balancing your blood sugar. And so there are a lot of components to that some of them are sleep and stress related, but mainly to do with food. Women tend to chronically undereat and
really?
chronically undereat. And a lot of them come to me and they're like, okay, this all sounds great. And I feel like maybe it's going to help me lose weight too, because we're talking about metabolic health. And I'm like, it's not a weight loss program, but we routinely have people come to us and eat 1,000 more calories a day and drop 5 to 50 pounds because when your metabolic health is out of whack like that and you're in insulin resistance, you also, a lot of these women are under eating and their thyroid's underperforming, and
Wow.
it just makes you hold on to excess weight. And so, one of the first things we do is see how much you're eating, like how much you're eating, when you're eating, how you're combining foods. And it's a process to train people on what to do around nutrition to get really balanced blood sugar. And most people say, like, okay, I get it, but they're not doing it day
Yeah,
to day.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I get it. But without somebody walking by your side with you and holding you accountable and going step by step, most people aren't doing it. So, one of the first things is seeing how much you're eating. Like the average woman needs 2,500 calories a day for a healthy cycle. Yeah.
What?
And most
Like,
women are eating like 1,500 calories a day, which is making them hold on to extra weight and feel constipated and brain fog and all
wow.
kinds of other things on top of their fertility struggles. And so that we get like a lot of pushback too. People are like, I can't eat more. I can't eat more. I can't eat more. I need to lose weight. But that's a big piece of it. And so the blood sugar piece comes into this. They're
Wow.
not eating enough during the day, but they're also like not eating for 7 or 8 hours and skipping meals and like grabbing
Hmm.
sugary snacks with wine instead of balancing what they're putting in their mouth around balanced blood sugar, like eating the right things for balanced blood sugar. And so that's the first place we start. There's layers to it, but
Yeah, of course.
that's
Yeah.
like women are eating like 13 to 1,700 calories a day for the most part. And that's too big of a caloric deficit for any of this to work well.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, and
Wow.
most people don't. And then I get that, and then but this won't work for me because
Well, yeah, and then a
yeah,
second thing that comes to mind is like I'm scared of eating that much. But what you're saying absolutely makes sense because I've been holding on to extra weight since I gave birth
yeah,
and I haven't been able to lose it no matter how little I eat.
totally common. Here's the lie that we've all been sold as women, and it's probably still happening to some degree, but like women in your 20s through 40s were sold the lie of like, you eat less and you exercise more. If you want to lose weight, it's
Yeah.
calories in, calories out. That works metabolically in a female body for 4 to 8 weeks. And then your thyroid gets really smart and is like, actually, I guess we're starving to death. So we're going to slow everything down. It messes with your cycle. It messes with your ability to drop weight. You tend to be in insulin resistance because your blood sugar is not level during the day. A lot of women are kind of constipated. You need to be pooping once or twice a day, ideally at least once. Brain fog, like the whole thing. And it all comes from like, well, I was trying to drop weight, so I'm exercising more and eating less, and the
Hmm.
body's panicking because of it.
How you've blown my freaking mind. Okay, now I'm curious. Are you anti-fasting then?
Yes, absolutely.
Dude, this is so good to know. I don't want to fast. I was like, I don't want to fast.
Here's the thing. Fasting is made for men's metabolic system. It
Mm,
is stressful on the female physiology. It can actually shrink your ovaries. Like
wow.
it is, and you'll hear all kinds of stuff online about like, well, but you should fast because X, Y, and Z. It's another stressor on the body, and your body's under enough stress as it is, and you're
Yeah.
adding more stress to it, which is sending you further from fertility than closer towards it. You're in much, much better shape if you're focused on balancing your blood sugar and getting enough caloric intake for your endocrine system to say, yep, we're in good shape. We feel safe. Ovaries, it's a go. Progesterone, it's a go. And that
Wow.
whole thing is so interconnected.
This is incredible. Like literally this goes against everything you hear online. Like
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Women should fast for 16 to 8. No. Look, you fast while you're sleeping, right? Like
Yes, yeah.
you don't you're not eating in the middle of the night typically. Although sometimes when people are having blood sugar drops at 3 a.m., one of the things we do is have them get up and get a snack until they've leveled their blood sugar out. And one of the other things we'll do is like you need a snack 1 to 2 hours before bed that has some good fat and good protein in it so that your blood sugar
Mm,
can stay level throughout the night. What does the fasting look like? We don't even look at that window, but a lot of people will naturally fast for about 12 hours anyway because
yeah,
of bedtime.
yeah.
Trying to skip breakfast is one of the worst ideas you can do for fertility, and that's what most people are doing when they're trying to fast is like I'm not going to eat until 11 or 1, and it's a horrible idea for your hormones.
Okay, wow. This is amazing to know. So I imagine then what you would probably recommend to start off your day is probably some fat and protein then.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We get a lot of women who are like, I'm not hungry in the morning. And
Mm.
that's a sign of metabolic damage. And it's not a sign like that you're doing really, really great because
Yeah,
you
that's what
know,
I would think. Like, oh
like,
wow, this is
I'm
working.
just not hungry. If you're not hungry every 4 or 5 hours, your metabolic system isn't processing at the right level. And so that's okay. That's incredibly common. But a lot of women will say, like, I'm not hungry or I'm even nauseous in the morning. And so we'll
Mm,
start with ideally, we're looking for whole foods, actual food, some eggs and bacon or a yogurt bowl or something that's real food. But you can start with a really good, like, bone broth protein shake with a
mm,
banana in it. But you're looking for 25 to 30 grams of protein in your breakfast. And you want, 400 to 500 calories ideally, especially if you haven't been doing this for a while and it's not routine, before you have a cup of coffee, before you exercise, and within an hour of waking up, you're having that hit your system. And that's going to set the stage for your blood sugar to be more balanced throughout the day, your cortisol levels to stay more balanced throughout the day. It sets everything up for success.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is, I'm so glad you're doing the work that you are because none of us know this shit. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my God. And I can only imagine what else is happening within your program that women are not even realizing that they need support with, that this was even a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is a big piece of the upfront work. This is what I would
Yeah.
call the low hanging fruit, the stuff
Yeah.
that is foundational. If this stuff isn't right, the rest of the high level, like let's work on your gut and let's work on, you know, what micronutrient deficiencies we have, cellular
Mm,
health and energy. That stuff's all got to stack on top of this foundation. So
okay.
until you get here, and for a lot of women, getting here gets them to pregnant even after 2 or 3 years. It can take some time to get to there when you've been completely dysregulated on it. And it's not, we're talking about phase 1 because we've only got a little time here together, but there's layers to this that you build upon. You start getting enough to eat. You start eating the right foods in the right combinations. You start eating at the right, time intervals.
Mm,
And then the next level of it is like, are we getting the right foods in and enough of the right macronutrients? And that takes some time to build. And look, the women we work with are all really, really intelligent, type A, successful women. They're not like, I don't know anything about what I'm doing here. Most of them know a lot about nutrition. They're just doing it all wrong.
yeah. I also have a question on alcohol. I mean, I don't know how many people do drugs or like marijuana, but does that play a role in getting pregnant?
So let's address alcohol first.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people the goal isn't perfection. So if you're going to be super stressed and miserable at your cousin's wedding when everyone's having a glass of champagne or, celebrating a birthday or something like that, and you want to have a drink once in a while, that's okay. If you're having a glass of wine every night and a few on the weekends with your friends or something that's more than very occasional, that is very likely to be slowing down your detox pathways. Like this is another one where the latest statistics showed about 40 to 50, they're all over the place. Let's call it 40% of US adults have fatty liver disease. So that's
Mm,
not just your detox pathways are slow, but they're really congested. And so why is that happening? I think a lot of it is the processed food, the excess sugars,
mm,
and all of that. And so when you throw alcohol on top of that and your liver's already struggling, it's really hard for it to process. And so your liver plays a huge role in fertility. And so it's something I just say, like, if you can cut out the alcohol completely, great. If you want to have a drink once in a while, at a special occasion thing, then that's not going to be the end of the world. But ideally, you're cutting it almost all the way out because your liver plays some critical roles. And I'll give you a couple examples. We've been talking about metabolic health. Your thyroid plays a huge role in your ability to get and stay pregnant, and your liver has to convert the hormone that your thyroid makes into an active form that your body can actually use for things like a healthy cycle. And if you've got liver congestion going on, that process can be a mess. And we get women who are on thyroid meds and it's not working for them, and part of it's because of liver congestion. Anyway, long story short, and one other thing. Okay, your liver has to process, well, everything you eat. But estrogen's great in our bodies. We need it for a healthy cycle. It's good for longevity. But once it's used by the body, it should be eliminated. And if you've got any level of liver congestion going on, estrogen will start to recirculate. It can cause painful periods, irregular periods, acne. It can cause weight issues. It can cause a host of inflammatory issues. So anyway, that's my TED Talk on the liver. Alcohol, stay away from if you can. But again, not the end of the world if you want to have one once in a while. Marijuana, there's more clear research, mainly on the male side, where, the reproductive endocrinologists have got a lot of data on marijuana use in IVF cycles, and it's not great. So it impacts sperm parameters, primarily motility, like their ability to swim quickly, and morphology can be impacted too. So, if they don't have as much data on the egg quality side of things, but we can extrapolate, which we often are doing here when we're looking at like what's actually going on in there. If it's doing that on the male side, like what's it doing to egg quality? So why, like if you're serious about this, it's like, why not cut it out? Yeah. Or if you want to like have a little bit on Friday night because you can't cut it out, but not every day or 3 times a week. Again, it's not about perfection, but like how much closer to the body operating optimally can we get? And everybody's a little bit different, and how close you got to get before that pregnancy occurs.
Yeah, this is so good to know, especially recognizing that it's not just on the women as well. Yeah, looking at how, what is he intaking? How is his lifestyle as well? This brings me to also perimenopause. Okay, so typically, what are the ages of the women that you're serving, that you're working with?
They range. Like we will get women in their 20s who are struggling, and we go up into the phase. I think we've got a client right now who's getting ready to do a transfer, an IVF transfer, with a donor embryo, but she's in her late 40s. So it ranges.
Okay.
And I would say our average successful woman when we ran the numbers in December was 39.8. So almost 40.
Yeah.
It's pretty late 30s is a pretty common time for people to be reaching out and working with us. Perimenopause, I have a whole opinion about that too, but I'll wait until you see what questions you got.
I want to know that opinion first. This sounds spicy.
This is like the fasting conversation. Everywhere you go online, anyone who's talking about hormones is like perimenopause, it's perimenopause. And on one side, it's really exciting for our generation that we aren't our mom and grandma's generation, where no one knew anything about menopause. No one talked about it. Everyone just acted like they were crazy wenches. Like that's great that it's being talked about. But what happens is what often happens when something gets the limelight, and that's that every single thing that happens to a woman over the age of 34 is called perimenopause, and it's bullshit. Like, it's just bullshit in a lot of cases. This diminished ovarian reserve situation, the gut issues, the weight gain, like you go down the list. Any symptoms you have, if you're in your late 30s or early 40s, they're going to call perimenopause. And if you're not trying to get pregnant, their solution would be to just slap hormone replacement therapy on it, which can sometimes make you feel a little bit better. It's not addressing the root cause issue. And gosh, we have women who, have been told they're going into menopause at 36. And once we get to the root cause of what's going on, their period's correct, they feel better. And so the whole perimenopause conversation it's misguided to me. It's very misguided. If you're suffering from big symptoms more than a few years before menopause, at least dig in and figure out what might be going on first. Because even if you slap hormone replacement therapy on top of it, It's a lot of like, I know so many women in my community that have done that and they've had to go off the hormones because they didn't feel good. And it's like, well, your body wasn't actually processing them right. You weren't ready for them. You didn't optimize everything else. It's a similar version of the IVF story in a
Yeah.
different vein of life. And yeah, every time I see like, oh, it's perimenopause, I'm like, I'm glad we're talking about it. Like, no, it's underlying metabolic dysfunction or inflammation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine if you're optimizing your body and doing the work that you're mentioning here, Courtney, I would imagine maybe also when you do hit menopause, it would be a much like less dramatic experience. I don't know. That just makes sense to me that if you're optimizing your body beforehand.
Yeah. And I fully plan on when it's time going on hormone replacement therapy. I don't think there's anything wrong with it
Mm-hmm.
if you are in an optimized state. There's a lot of evidence that, when you get to that place, that estrogen replacement and a little bit of progesterone can actually give you some longevity benefits and reduce some cancer risks. So I'm not, just like I'm not anti-IVF, I'm not anti-hormone replacement therapy, but it shouldn't be so dramatic.
Yeah.
It can theoretically be a little bit later. Like some women are full on menopausal in their early 40s now, and that's diminished ovarian reserve, and that's not normal. Like
Mm.
that is increasing so quickly in our population, and that's not normal. And so, yeah, do you get a little bit more time before it happens? Should it be a little bit more smooth? Do you need a little bit less hormone replacement therapy? All of those things. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. What are the results you're seeing? Like, I don't know if you have stats on that. I imagine you do. When it comes to women, like success in the
Yeah.
work that you're doing.
Yeah. So about 80% of the clients who work with us that are trying
Wow.
to get pregnant naturally will go on within a year to have a natural pregnancy. The last time we ran the numbers on IVF, 84% of them had success in the next cycle after working with our team. And so that's a variety of cases from like, I've never tried IVF before and I'm getting ready to I tried 5 times and it didn't work and now I'm going back to it. But yeah, those are kind of what we're looking at.
Yeah. What other, I guess, side effects, positive side effects, are people experiencing from doing this work with you and optimizing their health and their bodies? Besides, obviously, the greatest gift of all, being able to have another child. But beyond that,
Yeah.
I imagine it would impact a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think, we have this conversation with a lot of clients early on, and then some clients as it starts to happen because they're so focused on the baby. But this work impacts your overall quality of life in so many ways. And one of the main things we hear that surprises, especially women, as they're about midway through the program is I didn't know how tired I was all of the time. And I feel a lot of energy now. Like I
Mm,
used to want to take a nap after a lunch or whatever it looks like in their life, or I was living on coffee and I feel a lot more energy now. That's a big one. Periods tend to get easier. We'll hear things like, I just started my period and I didn't even know it was coming. Like it surprised me. And that never happens because I used to take a couple days off work and lay around in pain. Depending on what they have going on, some people will have like migraines and headaches a lot. Those tend to get a lot better. That's another really common one. Sex drive. Like who doesn't
mm.
want more sex drive in their relationship and intimacy with your partner? That tends to get a lot better. Those are some of the big ones. And we already talked about it, but the weight loss is another one where
Yeah.
people will eat more and drop weight very frequently.
Wow. Where do you see your clients, well, women specifically, because a lot of women listen to my podcast, where do they have the most resistance to change? Is it the food or is it something
Yeah.
else?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the food.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of fear around food and weight for women. I think there's a lot of control issues too around like, well, if I let this go, or I think it's fear around weight and control, and the food's tough. And you know what the other piece of it is? Like people who come to work with us spend a decent amount of money. Even the group program is an investment to work with us, but they're resistant to like, but I don't know if this, but I've done all these things. Is this really actually going to work? Like they
Yeah.
get into it and they're excited, but then a couple months in, when they're not seeing the results yet because it takes a little bit of time, they're like, could this actually be the thing? After I went to the top doc in New York and,
Yeah.
I tried all of these super technologically advanced procedures that didn't work. could it really be around, my nutrition and what time I'm going to bed at night and
Yeah.
what, like, this is not as common, but some women will fight us on pulling back on the exercise too. We get a lot of like ex-college athletes that are still pushing too hard in the gym. That comes up sometimes too. But the main thing is getting the nutrition where it needs to be. That is the biggest needle mover that you have too in this process. Like, and it's hard for people to wrap their head around because a lot of them have been in this, expensive advanced process where it didn't work, or they were told like, you need to spend another $25,000. And so I think that that's the biggest challenge with the men. I would say, they tend to be, and I'm generalizing, right? But they tend to be really data driven. And so I get a lot of women who are like, my partner, my husband, I've been nagging him, but he won't do anything. I told him to quit smoking pot. I told him to stop with whatever, like those basic things. But they tend to change really fast when they see the data and what it means for them. Like when they see it on paper and someone other than their wife or partner is telling them what to do, that does this for a living, they tend to change fast. And the thing that's annoying to me as a woman, not as the clinic owner, but as a woman, is how quickly men can change their physiology. Like they can move towards progress so much faster than we can.
Freaking believe that. Yeah.
It's so frustrating as a woman, but so fun to see with the couples who work with us, because I'm like, oh, he just dropped 40 pounds in like 6 months.
Of course.
Or, he got his testosterone up at 300 points. That's amazing. We had a guy whose sperm parameters were all normal before, but they each went up 3 to 5x, like the count, the motility, the morphology, after working with us for just a few months. And it's like, it's insane. But they're on a 24-hour hormone cycle. We're on, 26 to 35 days. And so it just, they tend to move quicker, but they're very resistant to their partners. And this provides a lot of stress relief for the women because the guys are actually doing what they need to be doing.
And she doesn't have to be on him. Yeah. Like, are you doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the last term that you used? Because you used it earlier too, and I couldn't catch it. Is it more when you're sperm?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's different parameters you can look at in the sperm, but morphology is like, is it shaped right, basically? And that's a big one that we see off. Like that would be the most common one if somebody sends us the semen analysis where they're like, oh, they said everything looks fine. And the way we look at it is different than what fine is. We're looking for optimal. So morphology is very frequently between like 3 and 5%. We want to see it between 9 and 15%. Motility is like how fast they can swim. Progressive motility is, are they actually moving forward? And then, you're looking for counts. Those are the big things on the semen analysis. And that's another thing where like the testosterone numbers and the sperm counts are going like this in our modern population. Like they've done, and hopefully we turn it around before then, but they've done estimates like at the current trajectory of how quickly sperm counts are going down, they'll be at 0 by like 2050. And again, to take that with a grain of salt because but they've dropped that much in the last 30 years.
Why is that?
I mean, look, everyone's got different theories. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's the food everyone's eating. 60 to 70% of most Americans' diet is coming from processed food.
Yeah.
That's stuff we were never really intended to consume. Commercial farming in the US has really stripped and depleted the nutrients from our soil. So even if you're eating, like we get a lot of clients who are eating, like I'm eating grass fed and I'm eating all organic, like they're trying to do everything perfectly, but it's hard to get everything you need from food alone. And so that's a piece of it. And then I think the always being on, I think our phones are, a big, like our bodies are in like constant fight or flight. Yes. And that's stressing people out and they're distracted by it. And so men aren't, this isn't every man, but like if your man's not getting some sunshine every day, if he's not lifting weights 4 or 5 times a week, doing something that like, if you think back to primal men, what they were out like chopping wood. And that sunshine and that kind of heavy lifting is part of what helps testosterone production. And so when we look at men, I'm like, you got to get in the gym and lift weights 3 days a week. Like, full stop. That's one of the big things. And so, all of that's kind of fallen off, I think, in our modern era of everybody sitting at a desk, everyone's stressed out by their phone. They're grabbing like fast food, junk food a lot because it's easy. And I get it. Life is stressful. And then, all the pests, you can talk about all the chemical exposure and everything else in our environment. And I think it's all of it. It's all of
Yeah.
it together. People want to point like it's the one thing, and it's like,
There's a
and
lot.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the, some of the work we do here once we see what's actually going on in your body is like, again, not perfection, but like how much can we remove that's not adding value to your life to reduce your toxic exposure so
Yeah.
that your body can function as it's supposed to.
And obviously, I'm not in this field at all. From what I've just witnessed in my own circles of women, like a lot of women struggling with fertility, do you think it has increased as well, just like you were talking about men and their sperm?
Yeah, I mean the numbers, like you'll find stuff that's like it's not really increasing, and it's the latest reported numbers say 1 in 5 couples. You get a lot of anecdotal stuff that says it's more than that now.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense based on everything we just said too, like that
Yeah.
it's increasing. Women are going into this diminished ovarian reserve, you call it perimenopause, where their ovaries aren't functioning optimally way earlier than they should be. It
Yeah.
used to be really normal for women to give birth in their 40s. Like we act like it's this normal, it's this novel
Yeah.
concept that our generation came up with, like, oh, this is really risky. But our grandma's generation, like they were having babies into their early 40s without
That's so
issue.
true. Like I was like my grandmother has like 8 kids. So yeah, she was pregnant for a lot of yeah, that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
mean, the female side, I would say the one thing that we have more so than the men is the stuff that we're putting on our bodies too. That's somewhere to
Mm.
take a look at. Like women put, I can't remember the exact number, 187 chemicals on your body a day. It's an astounding
As I'm
number.
wearing like a ton of makeup right now.
But again, the thing is, it's not like go be a hippie and don't do any of the things
Yeah.
you love and you have to give up Botox, you can't do anything. But how much of those things can you trade out? If you love
Hmm.
all of those things, are you using cleaning products that aren't full of endocrine system disruptors? If
Yeah.
you're able to do that, what are you cooking with? Do you have plastic stuff touching hot uh, nonstick pans in the kitchen? Like all of that stuff together
Mm.
really disrupts your endocrine system.
Oh my God, this has been incredible. I'm like going to look at everything right now. I have loved having you on. But go ahead. I thought, were you going to
No,
say
I was
something?
just gonna
Yeah.
say, like for you or whoever's listening, that's it, like trying to take notes, one thing at a time. Because
Yeah.
what you'll do if you try to go do all of the things right away is you end up flooding your system with cortisol, which is more
Yeah.
toxic than the toxin. So I tell people like, go do one thing at a time. If you want to look at your makeup, the Environmental Working Group, like EWG, you can type your makeup into their database and it'll tell you what's in it. And you can decide like, I love this one and I don't care, or maybe I could get something cleaner for mascara. And
Okay.
you can go through that way. And then your cleaning products, you can look at those, but don't try to do everything at once because it's every little layer you do is going to make a difference, and you don't want to stress yourself out in the process. It's not perfection.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my God, thank you so much. How can people reach out to you, learn more about your programs and your services?
Yeah, so let's see. Our website is Functional
Okay.
Fertility Clinics with an S, functionalfertilityclinics.com. We're pretty active on Instagram. It's Courtney L. Saye, Saye. And we're also on TikTok, which I gotta admit, I resisted for a long time because I was like, I'm not a TikTok fan myself, but there are so many people over there who are thrilled to have our support, and it's a very chatty community over there. Like they want to
Yes.
engage, and so we're over there a decent amount too. It's Functional Fertility Clinic.
I'll have that all linked too in the show
Yeah,
notes. Yeah.
the I don't know how soon you're gonna air this one. I was gonna say we've got a group. I don't know how quickly you're gonna get this one up, but we have a group a program starting in early March that I've got a wait list out for right now.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it'll probably be next week that I'll put this
Okay.
out. Yeah.
Okay. So I can give you that for the show notes too if people want
Yes.
to jump on the wait list, or if enrollment's going to open up at the end of next week. And it is we for the last we haven't done a group program in a long time, over a year, and it's been only one-on-one work. And we get so many people who are like, I want to work with you, but I can't afford it. I don't have six
Yeah.
months. Whatever it is, because it's
Yeah.
expensive to work with us in the concierge program. And So we put together this IVF prep intensive that's 12 weeks long. If you're getting ready for IUI, it works too. Technically, everything we're working on would help with natural pregnancy, but it's really designed for if you're doing an IVF cycle in the next 1 to 4 months, and it's going to be 12 weeks long. It's a lot less expensive on both testing and the program front. And we're taking all of the biggest bang for your buck things that we've learned from working with our private clients to help them get ready for IVF and packing it into this 12-week program. So I'm really excited about that. We just launched the wait list 4 or 5 days ago, and there's almost 100 people on it already. So there's definitely a lot of people who need that support.
This is incredible. You are changing lives. I honestly, especially in this world where you're constantly getting the messaging, there's nothing that you can do about it or besides take a bunch of drugs. For me personally, that's not something I want to do. I would much rather optimize my body. And I'm so grateful that you're putting this information out there. I'm so glad you're on TikTok too, because you're going to attract and call in the women who need this, who want to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here today. I am beyond grateful.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yes.